Hey everybody, Dustin DePirac here, columnist Ryan Karchi. We are in the newsroom. We're doing a special Scoop Talk because it's Indiana, Kentucky. We feel like we should do something to preview this, I guess, border state clash coming on with number one Kentucky, between number one Kentucky and Indiana on, tomorrow. Basically, I mean, a lot of people are starting to talk that maybe an upset's possible. I mean, there
seems like the
people,
confidence is a little higher than it was earlier.
which probably means there's no chance that Indiana's going to win because there's too many people talking about it. I think the line opened up today about 3.5, which is a lot closer than you would have put it
that's
a couple
surprisingly
months ago.
close.
Yeah, it really is. But I think you look at this, and I think for the first time, definitely for the first time since Tom Crean took the job, you can kind of look at the position by position, and I think it's pretty certain that Kentucky's got the edge pretty much everywhere. But the difference is, I think at least this year you look and say, okay, that guy's got a puncher's chance. Basically, whether it's Jordan Hulls with Marcus Teague, Verdell Jones and Deron Lamb, Victor Oladipo and Kid Gilchrist,
Christian Watford and
Terrence Jones. Watford defended Terrence Jones pretty well last year. Anthony Davis, Cody Zeller might be probably the best freshman matchup in the country this year. And even on the bench, I mean, Darius Miller, Will Sheehy is not a huge Kentucky advantage, and Kyle Wiltshire, Derek Elston is a monster Kentucky advantage. No. And that's as deep as Kentucky goes. There's nobody else on that team that plays more than 10 minutes a game. Eloy Vargas gives him about 8, which is probably about equivalent to Tom Pritchard, more or less. Vargas has some more height. But obviously, again, Kentucky's an extremely athletic team, definitely has the edge at all those positions, but I don't think you look at this and say those guys got no shot.
No, exactly, and I think that we've seen the potential for them to kind of rise above what their talent is. I mean, the sum is greater than the parts, I guess.
Right.
Would be the way to say it. So, and I think just looking at it position by position, like you were saying, I think Jordy Hulls really has a chance to put a special imprint on this game. I think with matched up against Marcus Teague, obviously we've seen the mistakes that Teague can make. He has kind of cleaned that up lately. I think Kyle Tucker in our Q&A said that he has only committed a few turnovers to quite a few assists.
Pretty good.
It's gotten a lot better, but I think he also hasn't seen an environment like Assembly Hall. He hasn't been by that student section. He hasn't had to shoot free throws with the fatheads behind it. I think that really is going to play...
You're giving way too much credit to the fatheads. Way too much credit.
I think that is going to play a part, maybe not the fatheads, but I think that'll play a part in how this game is played, especially that matchup. And I think Jordy being someone who often plays like he has ice in his veins. I mean, this is the iciest his veins could get. I feel like, and we'll see how it works out for him.
No, I think those two guys are probably the most critical to what each of their teams is going to do, and that's obviously almost always the case with point guards in general. But it's very, in a way, they're both kind of the microcosm of how their teams want to play. Basically, Tom Crean talked at length yesterday about making sure that Indiana plays smart, that they keep moving the basketball, make the extra pass, don't try to make hero shots. Just keep in mind you can't turn the ball over, you can't try to go in and shoot over Anthony Davis because Kentucky's average is almost 11 blocks a game, which is insane. So basically, like they kind of made it clear, like that you've got to be fundamentally sound, and nobody's more fundamentally sound than Jordan Hulls.
No.
There's not a lot of people in the country that probably are. And he's that guy that always does make the extra pass, does not take the hero shot, does not try to, shoot if a guy that's 6'4" with a 6'9" wingspan is running out and trying to block a shot. He's going to move the basketball. So he's got to, I guess, continue to do that. And Teague is also sort of the... having watched him in high school a few times, he's had his hothead moments. I saw him shove Spencer Turner for no reason. I still don't know what the point of that was. You don't know Spencer. If you did, you would... I can't imagine anybody ever wanting to hit Spencer Turner. He's like, the nicest kid you could imagine. And I just saw Marcus Teague shove him last year when Pike played South. I have no idea why to this day. So you can get in his head, and I think Hulls knows how to get in somebody's head. That being said, when you're not in his head, Marcus Teague is one of the most purely talented point guards you'll find, and with the weapons that he has a chance to be phenomenal. I think you mentioned what Kyle's Q&A. I think he just said that if Teague figures it out, that team can be pretty much unbeatable. So I mean, and I think that's probably the case. I mean, he's got a lot of speed. just a lot of athleticism, and really good court vision when he wants to use it. He's a guy that's really good at pushing the ball ahead. If he sees a guy wide open on the other end, he can complete that pass. I mean, I've seen him kind of throw alley-oops from mid-court. That's the type of game that Teague can play. So he becomes really, really critical, and if he can just sort of out-athlete Hulls and anybody else they're putting on him, then Indiana's in trouble.
Well, like I said, it's kind of the sum is greater than all the parts. I mean, with Kentucky, we've seen them kind of slip into times, and this has been their kind of the only negative to their team is that sometimes they look like an AAU team. I mean, they're all
sometimes there's 6 McDonald's All-Americans on the team.
Exactly, which is a really, really good AAU team.
The best AAU team ever.
But if they start playing like a team, I mean, this is a team with that talent. I mean, and that athleticism and the length, I don't know if anyone can stop them if they're playing as a team. The key is to break that down, and and I think, like you said, Teague is the key to that, and if Hulls can really get in his head, I think Jordan Hulls can be the difference in this game. Although I have to say, I can't help but look at Anthony Davis and Cody Zeller and just be excited to watch.
That's going to be pretty unbelievable. I mean, I vaguely remember watching them. I can't remember if they were on the same team or opposite teams in Chicago. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much length and athleticism there. I mean,
so much length.
So arms forever. I mean, really is what it is. And they can jump, they can run. I mean, they're just unbelievable athletes. And it's going to be interesting to see just how that one goes down. I mean, Tyler Zeller gave Anthony Davis some problems. Cody's not that big yet, but he is bigger. I mean,
but he's different. He's different. He has more strengths in other areas than Tyler does, which I think he plays a little longer, and he's a little quicker, I feel like. And whether that'll help him against Anthony Davis, I don't know. I mean, when you have the long arms in the posts, Cody's not going to be able to get shots like he did against Andrew Smith or any of the other guys as good as Smith is. I mean, Anthony Davis is he's going to get 4 blocks. I mean, that's just going to happen.
But he also doesn't have to kind of make up for the weight differential. I mean, like against the guys in North Carolina State, he had to do that a few times. Against Smith, he had to do that. Even against Adam Pegg, he had to do that against Stetson. Pegg had probably 30 pounds on him. So Zeller doesn't have that to worry about. Now he's dealing with a faster guy, which is a little bit of kind of a, not really different, but
a guy closer to his own style.
Yeah,
which is
exactly. Maybe not quite as fundamental, but really athletic. I mean, but then you go down the line. I mean, Terrence Jones. Watford gave him a run last year, but Jones is one of the most talented, put together players in college basketball.
And like Green said, he's better than he was last year. He's definitely someone who benefited from coming back and getting another year.
Yeah, for sure. And Michael Gilchrist is a guy that it's interesting that he gets talked about less now, and I don't know really why. But he's an absolute player. I mean, he has been for years. I mean, there was talk for a while that he was the best player in that class, and he might still be. He might eventually still be that same guy. And I think that's, again, another huge key is what can Wilshere, Victor Oladipo, Verdell Jones, and anyone else they put into the wing do to slow those guys down?
It's going to be...
How do they... I mean, they can do it. They're not bad defenders. They're good athletes, but how do you slow down those guys?
I mean, Victor's guarded some good players this year, but he's never guarded anyone as good as this. And I think even in the past few games, we've seen his defensive effort kind of slide back a little bit. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I mean, he hasn't shut down anyone like he did at the beginning of the season. And I mean, it would be a pretty tall task to shut down someone like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, but if he can be contained, he can kind of disappear in games sometimes, and I think that's less him, more his teammates. But but if he's someone who can be kind of neutralized in that way, and if they're focusing, and if they're forced to go to the outside and to shoot shots with Teague from farther out, and
they're not great.
And with Duran Lamb, they're not the best.
Lamb's a good jump shooter.
Lamb's good, but
I don't know about the rest of them. Not as much.
Yeah,
but. Another critical thing, they've got to rebound. Indiana has not rebounded well, particularly well. They haven't dominated teams that they should dominate on the glass.
And they happen to be playing the best rebounding team, arguably, in the country. One
of the best statistically. And, I mean, they're out-rebounding guys by, I think it's 10 rebounds a game, or maybe 8, something like that. But it's a lot.
The offensive boards especially are going to be interesting. And I think that's where, more than just scoring, more than running the floor, I think we're going to need to see Cody take a step forward even from what he's been doing. I mean, he's gonna have the toughest job boxing out he has and maybe will all season.
Yeah,
but
well, I mean, guys like Watford too. I mean, like if Zeller and Watford are not blocking their guys out, I mean, even if you just look at it as a man-to-man sort of thing, I mean, obviously it doesn't always go that way. But you know, how do you keep Jones and Davis off the glass?
But we've seen Christian Watford rebound. I mean, in the second half of that NC State game, if you can get an entire game of Christian Watford rebounding, like he did in the second half of NC State, he's going to be competitive.
I've watched 3 years of Christian Watford.
Yeah,
you don't see a lot of you don't see it for a whole game all the time. Although he did, like I said, he did play really well against Kentucky last year, and that was a big reason why they were in that game through at least a half. Was he was able to at least put some resistance on Terrence Jones and kind of slowed him down, forced him into some bad shots. So, all right, we got to make this quick, real quick, man. Prediction. What's it going to be?
You know, my confidence in Indiana has been getting a little higher as the week goes on, but I think it's still about a 20% chance Indiana comes out with this one. I'm going to say Kentucky by 12.
I'm about the same. I think maybe I'm going to go ahead and say 8 at this point. I think I think Indiana will absolutely play with them. I think there will definitely be a period early in the game where you think Indiana's going to win it. I just think that's just too much athleticism. Those guys can play.
It's a whole lot of athleticism.
But one way or another, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be packed. It's probably going to be fun to watch. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.